It says we're live. Oh, I'm so delighted. We are joined today by Dr. Melissa Bird, who has going to tell us about a book, Leading from the Heart, and also my good friend, Margaret Williams. Well, it just always makes me so happy just to see you, Margaret. So both of you guys make me happy just to see you here. And yeah, I guess we're talking about going forward in the future. Go ahead and tell us about the book, Dr. Bird, and we'll just have a fun talk.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Melissa Bird. I live in Corvallis, Oregon. I'm a descendant of the Shivwits Band of Southern Paiutes, former congressional candidate.
Current. You're
And
going to run again. We're going to
I
keep
am
you
not
going.
ready. Yeah, for sure. And author of this amazing book, Leading from the Heart, which is about intuitive leadership and community building. So it is a book that takes us away from this sort of white supremacist capitalistic top-down approach to leading and offers us an invitation into building teams and building community from a space of listening to our intuition, to the call of our heart, and really thinking about how we can lead in a much more rooted, centered space instead of listening to this, top down, I know everything, because we don't know everything. And so
Yeah.
we need
No.
we it's an invitation to start um building out the world we work from a space of connection.
Beautiful. I want to hear what Margaret has to say. Margaret, your thoughts?
Well, when you first talked about it on your live, Dr. Bird, I was just on fire. I was like, yes, let's go. Let's go. You're talking about leading from the heart. We talking about authenticity. Okay? We cut through the noise and get to the truth. Okay?
Beautiful. And I was talking about it this morning and just the degree to which we're indoctrinated. And I often say what we're up against is people perceive like this the white supremacy is the status quo. Like they don't even recognize that there are options. And you've said this, the devil you know type thing. We just keep, and the article I wrote, and excuse me for it, for today, it's like, let's just stop electing assholes. It's like, we don't have to submit to having assholes, right? They can be nice people and like people, it's like they look for the asshole and that's who they cast the vote for. So I guess that ties in, but add some more eloquent details.
Well, I think that, we, and I think this is really the problem with the quote unquote progressive liberal movement, whatever we want to call it, is we get so wrapped up in policing people's language that we forget to engage in the movement, right? And so we forget that we are all humans being on this planet, we're just trying to get through our daily lives, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and the purpose of what we are looking at, particularly with this rise of Christian nationalism and authoritarianism, is this over if we just overwhelm everybody, if we push people further into poverty, if we stress people out, they won't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, right? And so I think that what we are being called to is to stop expecting perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. We are naturally occurring beings on this planet. We aren't supposed to be perfect. And I've talked about this for years. Like when we expect perfection in activism, we forget that it is a people-centered, human-centered movement. And so when we start to just give each other grace and we start to say, you know what? Um, you're not doing it the way I would do it. None of us are ever going to engage in activism or leadership the way we think people should, right? But we can stop being cruel to each other and we can stop being mean to each other. And we can look at how we are intricately connected and woven with each other because we have made terms like colonization, white supremacy, and racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. We have made those words academic processes. But what I am calling for in this book and what I think the movement that I experienced, especially when I was running for Congress, is that we need to give people hope. And the only way we dismantle colonization and white supremacy is to stop making an academic exercise and start making it a realization that the structures that we have been living under for the last 250 years, if not longer, because as soon as white people came here and as soon as people started engaging in slavery and bringing people from Africa here without their consent, what happened is that we pulled ourselves away from the land, we pulled ourselves away from each other, and the only way you can commit acts of genocide and own other people is to dehumanize each other and other each other. And leading from the heart is this proposal that the way we decolonize ourselves is not through an academic exercise. When we make it that it becomes out of reach for people, it's to just gently and lovingly start to acknowledge that the way we think and the way we behave is driven by those structures.
Absolutely. Margaret, I defer.
Yeah, so would you say that dismantling of perfectionism, we have to narrow in on shame, okay?
Yes. Yes, Margaret. And I think that it's not like the standard for perfection is a white straight male. That's what we're holding ourselves up against. And that is why this doesn't work, right? That's why
Exactly.
all of these processes, particularly the progressives and liberals keep trying to push us towards, it doesn't work because the standard of perfection is held up by the belief that the perfect, it goes all the way back to the founding of this country. The perfect is the white straight man who controls everything. And the way we disrupt that is to really deal with our shame, but I think it goes beyond dealing with our shame and starting to realize that we've been bought and sold a chunk of goods it's just built on nothing. It's a myth.
Yes.
Total myth.
I talked with Annalisa Brunner about the same thing and she mentioned how we turn over our tangible reality to these just abusive men on the promise that it'll be returned to us at some given day. And of course, we end up like the horse in the book Animal Farm, the horse that works. Oh, I just have to work a little harder. I'll get to retirement. Then they ship him straight off to the glue factory. It's like, that's us. But I do want to address, there's some confusion because like the word purity test, it feels like it's deployed. That's not what you said, but it's deployed in a way that's malicious often, where we have people that have legitimate, like, it's like, this is a person who used to be a grand dragon of the KKK, but now he's redeemed. Don't submit him to a purity test, Walter. And it's like, but time out. I would rather, this is what they kind of say. It's like, I would rather, let's elevate, like somebody like my wife who works as an ELL teacher, teaching refugee kids, who has never done like these horrible things like some of these people. It seems like we're constantly in this state where we have this horrible group of people, and then they have this illusion, the con of the redemption arc, which we're instantly supposed to accept, even though they just use it as a form to enrich themselves again. So it's like a malicious usage. It's like, I do agree, we can't strive for perfection, but that idea is also maliciously deployed to make us overlook people that have committed legitimate crimes we should be aware of. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think that we have to hold people accountable for their actions, absolutely. And also, if you have been taught and trained that the way you get somewhere in life is by having proximity to power,
yeah,
then
that's
it doesn't leave you any room to admit that you have screwed up in your thoughts and beliefs, that actually being a white supremacist is not a good idea because it dehumanizes not only yourself and your spirit, but everybody else. And therefore, if you all of a sudden realize that you have also been bought and sold a crap to keep you in proximal power, it's why white women vote against themselves all the time, right? Because it's that proximity to power that makes people feel like, that's why we keep electing assholes. Somehow we have decided, use your word, Walter.
Yes.
have decided that if I keep electing these people, I'm going to somehow be salvaged. I'm going to be saved, right? I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be able to pay my bills. I'm going to be able to afford to put gas in my car if I keep electing these people because somehow we have that proximal power. And it's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Like Like, I think what we are witnessing right now as our democracy is crumbling, and I've said this to both you and Margaret before, as our democracy is crumbling and the cracks are showing, it's actually an opportunity for the light to get in.
Mm.
And what I'm doing with this book is giving people sort of a pathway to think differently about the assumptions that we make about each other and what each other needs, right? So what I need is not what Margaret needs, it's not what Walter needs, it's
Mm.
not what the 49 people who are watching this live need. What we each need is individualized, but we still have to live in a collective. We still are intricately woven to each other. And if we can learn how to harmonize those things, not balance them, because I think balance is bullshit. And I say that as a Libra. I'm always striving for balance. I think it's crap. The moon harmonizes with the ocean to make the tides, right? That
Yes.
the moon pulls the tides. It's harmony. It's not balance. And if we can start to think about how we can get to know each other better, how we can start to understand each other and where each other is
Yes.
coming from. One of my most favorite documentaries, and I can't remember who the guy was, but it's this black man who went in and started interviewing members of the KKK. He embedded himself.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most powerful things I have ever seen because it transformed the people who were born to hate him,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it transformed him. And I think that's the trick here is I have a very good friend. Her name is Amy Wolf, and I say her full name because she's an incredible author, and she's a TED speaker, and she has a really beautiful movement called the Don't Give Up movement, and she created the Don't Give Up signs that are black and white that you see all over social media when you Google Don't Give Up.
Hmm.
She wrote a book about this, but when I first met her, she was a very conservative, evangelical Christian pro-life woman. And over the course of our friendships, we started to do live unscripted talks on Facebook like 10 years ago. And over the course of our friendship, she and I have both started to realize that we were also feeding into the myth that we are supposed to hate each other and be at
Hmm.
odds with each other because I'm pro-choice, she's pro-life. I am queer, she is not, right? Like, she's an evangelical Christian,
Hmm.
I'm an Episcopal Christian, right? Like, we have been trained to believe
Yes.
that we are supposed to hate each other, and I think what's happening in the movement right now and what is going on in this country right now is that we are starting to realize that that is how you perpetuate genocidal, colonizing white supremacy.
Yes. Margaret?
What I wanted to say is in order to have this collective, we must embrace vulnerability and
Mm.
intuition. Okay. Which is also in your book, Dr. Bird.
Yeah, I think that vulnerability, like, I I feel like sort of like a broken record, right? But like, um, you can't own human beings and commit acts of murder
Hmm.
if you are vulnerable, if you understand your faults,
Yeah.
you realize you are a fallible human being. And there is something so potent, one of the most watched TED Talks in the world is Brené Brown's talk on vulnerability. Um, she's amazing. I love her mostly because we're both
Yes.
qualitative social worker researchers, and so, you know, I think that yes, Grace, street preacher, that's correct. Um, that that we ha- when we vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. But for the last 500 or so years, people have been training people that vulnerability is a
Hmm.
problem. It's problematic. You can't maintain a new world order of authoritarian dictatorship if leaders are vulnerable.
Hmm.
They're-
Hmm.
And so I think Margaret, to your point, like the idea of healing shame and wounding, being vulnerable and open and listening to where our heart and soul is pulling us, that is the way that we create movements that are centered on all of us, not just the few. And I see this, I mean, like, I think the indivisible movement is really incredible and amazing, but even then you end up with the same group of people pulling together the same groups of people, especially in these smaller towns, and you don't end up with the diversity of leadership and thought because people are too afraid to give up their proximity to power.
Yes. I think I was going to say, if you think you're perfect too, the other side of this authoritarian movement, if you think you're perfect, it makes genocide inevitable, I believe, because what we see is you're challenged. Because if you think you're perfect and you continue as a flawed person to make mistakes, it gets to that point. And I grew up in a family like this. The father can never be wrong.
Yes.
So then the hostility, when you're like, well, this is wrong, the hostility grows. And the identity of perfection becomes this level of cruelty because the people closest to you are going to bear witness to your fallibility, right? There's things that you do that cannot be unseen. And this is why they turn around and they will kill you in the end. They will kill you because you are a witness to the fact that their self-identity is a lie. And I think that's what we see in this we saw that in the interview over the weekend. Well, there's election fraud. Well, what is it? What's the evidence? And he gets up and leaves. It's like you can't even have a discourse.
Yeah.
But what you've been saying too, this idea of the proximity to power, I think that's really important. I want to address it a little more because deliberately over the last month or so, I've made this choice because in the past I was doing like everybody else on this platform. I want to grow. So you're appealing to the larger platforms to interview you. And it's just like they just never do the things. And it's been making me very frustrated in this election cycle because I've been trying to interview as many new candidates with a new vision of leadership. And I can't get the larger platforms to do this. And so here I am frustrated with it. And a couple months ago, I was like, well, they are who they say they are. When people show you who they are, believe them. And I've turned, and instead of trying to, appeal to my abusers, I go and support the people that are, my supporters, It's like turn to the people that support you. So I've been talking to the people that come to my chats and trying to build up other platforms and build up new people. But it takes a deliberate choice. And exactly what you're saying, Melissa, about that conditioning, like as a writer, I'm always looking for a big publisher. It's like, I don't need that. I need one reader. I don't need some, authority, some oligarch publishing to tell me my work's all wrong and anoint me. I'm the one standing for integrity with the people around me. And so, yeah, it's just that it's a subtle thing, isn't it? You just shift. Go from looking up to the proximity to power to looking around you to all the people that are there. And you realize the power's been there the whole time.
Yeah. I think that you bring up this really good point, right? One of the things I learned, I'm a social worker, so I have a master's and a PhD in social work. And one of the things, and I used to work in domestic violence and child abuse prevention. And so one of the things I realized running for Congress is just how deeply gaslit we are as an electorate, as a country. And it's like we are in a gigantic domestic violence cycle with our media and our politicians. And there's like this period where we have an opportunity to get out. And this, it goes back to what you were mentioning earlier about what I said in a previous interview with you or conversation with you, Walter, about better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Voting for the incumbent that goes against their best interest because they are afraid of the possibility of what could happen if we choose something different because it's too scary. And I think that, like with books like mine, with Leading from the Heart, and by these conversations that I've had with you and Margaret, and us being willing to connect with each other and people we don't know, right? To have different conversations, to raise these levels of conversations to different people. That means that we are going to be able to transform, but it's going to take time. It took us 500 years to get here. It's going to take time. We may not see this in our lifetime, and we have to be careful with thinking that we're going to see this shift in our lifetime. That doesn't mean we don't do this work of dismantling all of these ideas that we have. It doesn't mean we don't put out books like my book. It doesn't mean we don't continue to do interviews and conversations with each other about what we wish to see and hope to see in the world. Because one thing I learned from being on the campaign trail is that people want something to hope for. They want something to connect to. And they want someone who's willing to talk about people with disabilities. They want someone who's willing to talk about how can we come together to to be very community centered and think about how are we raising the level of voices and asking communities, particularly rural communities, what do you need? There's a whole chapter in my book about what do you need? Because
Mhm.
we're asking the wrong questions. It's not what do you want, you crave. It's what do you need right now
Yes.
in your community to change what's
Yes, right
happening in your,
now.
and how do we resource those communities?
Margaret, I love Margaret. She always gives me such energy as she talks and moves. So tell us what you're thinking, Margaret.
I'm thinking everything is, she's right. The main thing, going back to one of the things that Walter was talking about, we have to address the elephant in the room, period. Because if we don't address it,
Mhm.
we cannot heal from all the trauma that has been uh, passed down to us through generations. Okay, so if we don't, this ends up being resentment, and it can turn into hate, and that hate rotting us out from the
Yes.
inside out, and it helps no one. And
Mhm.
it's like cancer; it spreads. So we cannot deal with that. And so what you were talking about in your book, um, Dr. Bird, was healing through grief and loss. We have to admit to ourselves we are grieving. Many of us are grieving and refuse to admit it. And we're holding all of these things within our bodies, our minds, and our spirit. And it's killing us.
Melissa, take that one.
I think that so much of my life's work is about grief, um, and helping people recognize that all of us, if we've made it past the age of 5, have lost something,
Yeah.
right? And that means we are constantly grieving. And for some of us, it's the death of a loved one. I've talked very openly about my dad committing suicide when I was 6 and what happened to my family because of that. But so many of us have been grieving, but we get taught by by you know leadership and people in power that you have a 3-day bereavement leave and that's it, right? Like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
death death and grief and loss last for a lifetime, and loss comes in many, many forms. It's not just about death, it's about losing relationships, it's about losing community, it's about disconnection from land. So much of what people are starting to recognize now, it's quite fascinating, is recognizing that their disconnection from land
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
has created grief in our souls and in our
Yeah.
hearts. And so we grief is just a part of everyday living, but if we're not allowed to go to process the feeling and emotion of grief, we
Mhm.
just hold it, and it creates resentment, and it creates anger, and it creates all of these feelings
Yes.
that we keep trying to shove to the side. I was actually talking to a friend of mine about something that's happening in their work, and they said, this caused confusion with the people I work with, and I said, "It didn't cause confusion, it's caused grief."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we try to to make it into these, again, this academic process of, "Well, I'm just confused." No, you're not just
Yeah.
confused. You've lost a mentor and someone who you love, and therefore you are grieving that
Yes.
you didn't have a choice when they got rid of that person.
Oh, these malicious forces too, like narcissists. We talk about narcissistic abuse. One of the things they always do, they make urgency. Well, this decision has to happen now, and you can choose between this or this. Hurry up, choose between this and this. So it's like all on so many different levels, control is taken from us, and people, but they know exactly how to do it. So they set us up in these situations which cause frustration. We put us in economic, and then they also want us to rebel. So then they can quell the rebellion and take over. So it's just like layer upon layer what we're up against. I mean, like the structure of it is so evil and so intricate. What are your thoughts, Melissa?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, there's literally nothing on this earth that we have to control. Nothing. We are not here to control each other or the planet. The planet is fine on her own. She's like, screw all y'all. I'm done with your shenanigans. I jokingly say that the earth is middle-aged woman in the middle of a hot flash, and she's
Yeah.
done with our shit. Like,
Got a
she's done.
fever. It's got a fever to kill the
Right.
infection, right? That's what's happening. Yeah.
She's done, and we don't we're it's not our job to control her. It is not our job to save her. She can do that fine on her own. It is our job to pay attention to when we are trying to control, because when we are trying to control, it takes us out of connection with our intuition. So one of the very
Mm,
simple ways that I have taught my clients to learn how to use their intuition, your your clearest, most intuitive thought happens in the first 5 seconds of thinking a thought. It's literally a breath. It's an in-breath and an out-breath. It's so fast. And then our brains kick in and say, "Oh, there's no way I can do that." Or it creates a, 12-step plan that keeps you from, doing anything
yeah.
in your life. And so to learn how to use your intuition, you ask yourself very simple questions about how, um about what you want, what you need. So, do I want coffee or tea? Tea. Then you drink the tea. Then you reaffirm that your intuition is kicked in. Do I want to wear the blue pants or the red pants? Red pants. Okay, great. And then you do that thing. Those are benign answers, but do I want to wake up or do I want to lay in bed for 5 more minutes? Oh, I want to wake up because I'm excited about my day. Whatever it is, that's the first thought that pops into your head when you give yourself a choice. And if you listen to that, then your intuition and leadership kicks in when it's much more serious.
Mm,
Like all of a sudden, you learn how to listen to that very first thing that pops into your head, right? And then I mean, that's what happened when I decided to run for Congress.
mhm.
Is I was like, someone should really run for Congress against this person. And I was like, do I really want to do that? And it was like full body chills, hell yes. And I was like, okay, right?
Right.
That my intuition kicked in. And I think
Yes.
um, if we really start listening to that
Yes.
guidance inside of us, then and we stop listening to this beautiful, amazing brain
Yes.
first, our brain can kick in later. But if we really start to listen to our intuition and our heart, that is truly how we build
Yes.
community, connect with each other despite our differences, and start to build a movement that is based in connection.
Yes. And so much of the mechanism we live in. Oh, go ahead, Margaret.
I would like to add, in order to do that, we must trust the process and have faith that we can succeed.
Yes. Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like so much of what we live in, it's designed to make us feel inadequate. Like everything in our society is designed. We're sinners. We don't have wealth because our work isn't good enough. We're not attractive enough. Literally everything. It's like I take guidance from my dog. Like the dog is never he's never like, I'm not doing a good job today. He never once thinks that. It's like, why is my dog so happy with his life? He's like, he's just pawing around, he's going, and it's just like I envy the fact that he's so confident. It's because he just is not subjected to this kind of constant tidal wave to make us feel like we should give up on our what we know to be right in deference to some cruel asshole who's going to abuse us. Go ahead, Mom.
Well, and I'm really glad you brought up sin, because I've written about this extensively, and I think that it doesn't matter if you are religious or not. The myth of original sin is it permeates into everything our government does, every policy that we make, because of the doctrine of discovery and manifest destiny. And so the original sin is not sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That is low-hanging fruit. That's super easy to criticize. The original sin is not listening to the calling of our heart. It's not listening to where we are being compelled to and pulled. Sin is not about criticism. It's about not listening to where we are going. And I love Zora's Resistance Press said, in one of their pieces, they said that grief is breathing through an open wound that never closes. That is so potently powerful when we think about this idea of who is sinning and who is not, right? The sin is in criticizing other people. It is in not listening to the pull and call of our heart and soul. And I think for so many of us that when we and I say this as a native woman and as a member of the LGBT community. Like I spent my life thinking I was unworthy because I believed in that bullshit trope that sin is about who I am as a human being, and that I was completely and entirely unlovable. And I think if we start to disrupt that myth
Yeah.
that was brought here by colonizers to say you are not enough because I am superior to you. If we start to disrupt that and dismantle it over and over and over again,
Yeah.
then it opens us up to be able to listen to ourselves and listen to how we want to care for each other
Mhm.
from the least among us to everybody else, right? How do we want to care for each other?
Margaret.
Yes. Now, something that you and the street preacher were talking about was grace. Now, you also talked about the graceful revolution in your book. Can you tell us more about that?
Oh my gosh. So the Graceful Revolution is a dream I had. Um, I I was asleep in 2014. I had a dream. I had a dream.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
I typed it out on my phone in a note, and I thought it was I didn't like, I woke up and I was like picked up my phone and I was like, "Oh, there's a note here that I wrote at 3 o'clock in the morning that I don't remember writing. What is it?"
Nice.
And, the Graceful Revolution and I started hitting my husband, and I was like, dude, you gotta hear what I wrote at 3 o'clock in the morning." It's the Graceful Revolution is here, I think I'm just gonna read it.
Yay!
I'm gonna read the note. Um, hopefully I can find it.
Leading from the heart.
Leading from the heart.
I love it.
Um, do. Maybe I can find it. If I can't, I'll go find the note on my phone. But basically, it's about um. Okay, delay.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, man, we'll just build the tension. Everybody's all anticipating this now. That's how we do.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is next level.
Right?
Absolutely. You got this.
Oh, beautiful. I
Okay.
just love it. Yeah. Always write down your inspiration, everybody. That's another one.
Listen,
Record it as a voice note.
that is absolutely true.
I call it capturing the inspiration. You have to capture it. I have more captured than I can even write these days. I couldn't even finish. Thank
Oh
you
my
for all the
god.
hearts, everyone.
I'm gonna find it. I swear.
It's just looking.
When
Because
you
I
least
really want
expect.
to read it. I feel like it's so.
It's so
I
important.
want to read it word for word.
Well,
Honest.
I can tell a quick story as you're doing that, as you're looking, because what you've said triggered a lot of thoughts in me. And a lot of times we have that like second brain, like all the nerves. Evie Bateman wrote a wonderful note about this. Like all the nerves in your, digestive system and in your body. It's like a second brain. That's your intuitive mind, the one that's like, the body can't die, like, don't go down this dark alley. You're afraid. Don't go down there. And getting back in touch with nature, like you were saying, Melissa, I was just talking about this morning. I find I need, like in these summer days, I need to go just jump in the lake and that resets my brain. Like get the water over my head and so much of the anxiety that I don't otherwise know how to do it just goes away. But at another point in my life, I left the country and I went and lived in Peru and I escaped. You can live in other countries. People get in this assumption that everywhere in the world is like the United States, and that is not the case. The white supremacy we have, I mean, there is white supremacy elsewhere, but what we have in the United States is a unique, like, strain of white supremacy. When I
Yeah.
lived in Peru, they were very much more open. The imposter syndrome wasn't the pressure that wasn't there all the time. And I'd always been a good student. I'd been successful at the things I'd done. And I still had that sense of worthlessness, and that's just cultivated. That's how we turn over our labors for less than we deserve because that's the fundamental process in this country to make us feel worthless. So we submit, to a cruel authority. And I left the country and I found people that embraced me for who I am. And I learned I had a detox period of about 10 years in South America. And so I think there's many different ways. Like the mountain, you're saying the dream, I'll go to the mountain. The mountain has many different sides. We all climb it from different sides. We compare our experience and we can get to this collective idea of how to overcome these obstacles before us.
Yeah.
But part of it is recognizing what we're up against. Did you find your quote then?
I did. Yep. Okay. It says, I believe in a new brand of advocacy where we humble ourselves to our shortcomings and engage in acts of graceful revolution that bring light to the true reality of people's lives. I believe that if we engage people in their own spaces, teach them to look at injustice as moments that touch each one of us, If we give them the knowledge of the power structure and the tools to infiltrate its membrane, then change will take place in America. This is the Graceful Revolution.
Yes.
Yes.
How we are conditioned to not even look in the place where the answers lie too, right? That's another thing, like this structure. But I think it's really, I've been working on it with my friend Will Fullwood. And just like, cause I grew up in this, conservative rural area, we're indoctrinated hard with white supremacy, and I was sick. I would go to school. I was physically sick. I lost weight. I had asthma. I would be sick. Out of every 9-week quarter, I'd be out for 2 weeks with illness because, like, it just my intention and essential integrity couldn't deal with what was being pushed upon me.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even so, there's a part of you, that second brain, your digestive system, that says life doesn't have to be like this. And then I found an answer in reading. You'd find examples of compassionate romances and love and truth, in these books that are different from the reality that's imposed upon you. But that's why our adversaries are book burners. They want to control. It's going to be a failure. But it is not easy, as we've said, this constant learning, constantly peeling back those layers of indoctrination that make us inclined to separate ourselves. And so it's such a privilege for me to be in this conversation with the two of you. 10 years ago, I might not have been able to do this because I've had to peel back more and more layers. And I probably would have said offensive things and not realized I was being offensive and not heard the gentle corrections and gone away angry. And so it's a process, we all are on different places along that, but I'm seeing more and more people, so I'm encouraged by that. Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, I think that, like, we have to realize that this is a process. Right before we went live, I said, "Oh, I just learned a new thing," and Margaret was like, "We're always learning new things," and like, that's just life. That's what we're doing here. That's our whole purpose is to just every day we're learning new things. We're figuring new things out about ourselves. We're really
Yeah,
we're really being called into this place where we just start to see each other
right.
as humans being, right? Like, we are humans existing on this planet. And the more we realize that everybody is just here, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, power in the sense of that word of people in positions of power. We all are here just trying to live a daily existence. And some of us do it by trying to become the first trillionaire in the world, which is absolutely horrifying and ridiculous, and something must stop
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And some of us are doing it by connecting with people. And, Walter, you saw a need, right? Like, I don't necessarily all the time love where Substack is going, because when I came here as a writer
Yeah.
who who wanted to expose people to my writing because I couldn't get published in traditional publishing. Like, even my book
Okay.
now is not published through a traditional way, right? And but so sometimes I don't love where it's going, because I want all of us who are writers who aren't getting published in traditional ways to still have a space. But on the other hand, how fucking miraculously remarkable is it that you and me and Margaret can sit
Yes.
here
Yes.
without ever having physically been present in a room with each other, which I hope we can change someday.
Me
But
too.
how amazing is it there are 80 people on here live right now who I have never met in person, and we are all inspiring each other to just think about things just a little tiny bit differently today.
Beautiful.
That is amazing. That is remarkable. That is connective, right? And my hope is
Yes.
that all of us who are on here, that we leave this space and we go out and actually speak to real human beings if we can, that we connect with
Mhm.
actual people in community together, whether it's on
Yes.
the phone through a good old fashioned phone call, or it's in person with somebody that we know and love, or if it's with a total stranger. And I think there's something so deeply powerful in remembering that we are meant to be communal beings. Only reason we have forgotten that is because when people came here and colonized this land, they did not love that they encountered communal beings.
Mm. Mm. Margaret?
We I lived overseas for 16 years, and what I discovered is that we are more the same than we are different. If you cut your arm,
Yeah.
our blood is red. Many of us have the same concerns. So before you criticize or judge another person, you know, you need to be cognizant of that, because what that person is experiencing today, you could experience tomorrow.
Yes. Boy, that brings up an idea too, because I used to when I went to Peru, I used to get culture shock when I went there, and then I'd get it again when I came back, and I got to a point in my personal development where I don't get culture shock anymore when I go to these other countries, and I think the reason for that is I've changed the programming in my own thoughts, you know, where you've come to accept a truer version of reality, and I keep saying to people, "You're frustrated because you're expecting the people or the universe to act in the way that you think it should be, and you're not just reacting to how it is. You keep being angry over and over because it doesn't do what you expect it to do, and that's because your mind is wrong. The universe isn't going to change. Change your mind. It's so much easier. Then you don't have to be angry all the time. And that
Yeah,
that
you brought up imposter syndrome earlier.
Mhm.
Here's the way I really like to mess up imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome, also a myth, doesn't actually exist, literally created by a bunch of academics to describe a bunch of straight white male academics, by the way, to literally describe the experiences of women and
Ah,
people of color.
okay.
So, who's the imposter? We can't, I am not an imposter of myself.
Right.
We are not imposters of ourselves. We are born into this world and we are not imposters. So
Yes.
creating a fucking syndrome to
Yes.
describe women and people of color is it's not the more we use the term imposters, this is like a soapbox of mine.
Yes.
The more we buy into the myth of imposter syndrome, the
Yes.
more we give those people power over who we are supposed to become.
Oh,
I anybody else but me. I can't I am just fully every time I tried to be something that was appropriate, that was polite,
Mhm.
that was quiet, I diminished my shine, and I diminished why I am here on this planet. I am here on this planet exactly as who I am, and in my faith
Yes.
tradition, I yes, Margaret, yes! And in my faith tradition, I am here exactly as God wanted me to be. I am potent, I am powerful, I am native, I am queer, I am Christian, I am here made in that image on purpose.
Ah,
And if we keep buying
And
into this imposter syndrome bullshit, perpetuated by people who want me to shut up,
yes. Yes.
it's not useful. Margaret, I love your face right now. You're like, woo!
She was just going,
yes,
"Oh my god. Oh my god. I just love that." It's just I gotta say it. But I it's such a because I remember in college, I'm like, I shouldn't be here. And it's like I was a top performing student. So you have these, but it's exactly as you say, it's artificial, it's imposed upon you. And I
yes,
run into with writers too. I'm like, you deserve to write. And they're just like, I get this. It's like, no, it's you are a writer because you wrote something. That makes
Yes,
you a writer. That's all it takes. And you don't need to be anointed by a big publisher to be a and I get rejected by the oligarch publishing too. The ones that they'll happily promote the biography of some Klans member, right? But they won't publish my book? Okay. And I did this when I was in college. Eventually in college, I said, the grade is not a reflection of me. The grade they give me is a reflection of that teacher's ability to recognize I'm a good student. I've told this to my kids.
yes,
And it's like, stop turning over all your power to what other people think of you. Screw them. You
yes,
you have to love yourself. That's what the essence of all this is.
yes.
The American public, again, when I lived in Peru, it wasn't there. And that was the
No,
first time I had to believe it. It's like, my goodness. And it's like, it is easy to say that doesn't exist, but but you have to go. And I've had this experience of processing through it. And like, I think it'd be harder for my kids, because they're dealing with these emotions like, is this for me? And it's like, I'm still even reluctant to like call the police and say this law is being broken because I know the police isn't necessarily there to serve integrity, right?
right?
But we have to take back. Or like running for office. I don't feel like running for office is for me. And it's like we have to overcome that because we need good people in office. And
And it
Melissa
might
has shown
not
that.
be for you, Walter. It might not. But you elevating the voices of people who are, that that is your purpose, right? Like that is where you are being
I feel so,
called
yes.
to at this moment, right? And that's why if we could just stop using the word imposter syndrome, it would be so delightful because I can't be an imposter. I'm not a butterfly.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not a tree. I'm a human, right? Like that's the same. We are naturally occurring things on this planet woven into the web and the fabric
Yeah.
of this planet. We are not meant to be anything other than ourselves.
Yeah. No
And so
dog ever felt imposter syndrome, right?
like, neither does my dog.
Yeah.
The dog is not an imposter of itself.
What are you even talking about? And it's like the dogs are so much wiser. Yeah.
I keep hoping people will look to nature to guide them. And I don't just mean going forest bathing or like, touch it, this whole touch grass shit. Like, I'm like, good God, can we not memify this? Can we not meme
Yeah.
like, like, but what I mean about getting back to nature is not you have to travel to the ocean and put your feet in the ocean and let the earth carry away your troubles. What I mean is just recognize that we are not robots, thank God. We are not created in a fucking
Yeah.
lab somewhere, right? We are people. Even if we are people as a result of insemination, we are still people. There's still a process that happens
Yes.
where our cells combine and split apart and make us who we are, just like the cells divide to make a
Yeah.
tree and a butterfly and a dog and a deer. Like when we start to realize that we are of the planet, everything in our life changes. Everything in our life changes. And that is what I want people. That is my hope and my prayer and my constant wish particularly for my children. When they start to realize that they're not connected to the phone, that they're
Oh,
connected to the people in their lives change forever.
yeah. Yeah.
That's the trick. And if we start to realize, like what I love about talking to you and Margaret, not just Margaret's infectious enthusiasm for every word that comes out of my mouth,
She's
brings me so
beautiful.
much joy, but like when we start to realize that it is these conversations, someone is going to take one thing from this
Yeah.
and it's going to completely shift the way they enter their day to day.
Mhm.
And that is gorgeous. That is magic. Joe, where can you buy my book? Here, I will put the
Perfect.
link.
Perfect place for a plug.
I put the link in the chat earlier, but I'll do it again.
Do you have an audio version too?
Not yet.
Okay. That's
I
coming.
will have an audio version,
Perfect.
but that's the thing. That's a process. So,
Margaret,
sure.
I always defer. I want Margaret to speak.
Yeah.
Wow, I had so many thoughts that run through my mind, and these conversations are so necessary because we have to figure out how to bridge the gap between us, because I sincerely don't understand what we have been fighting among ourselves about. Okay? And so when we stop and think about it, neither can anyone else either. Okay? So let's put our egos aside and figure out how we can chip in and help each other.
Yeah.
Okay? And to help to sell your book as well. It's very powerful.
Spread the word of the bird. That's
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
all,
Okay?
that's what we
Beautiful.
always say around here. Spread the word of the bird. And I put my website in the chat. And if people can go and follow me on all my social media and subscribe to my Substack,
Yeah.
I share, it's called Love Notes and Prayers, Guidance for the Soul. And it's just every week I post a love note and I do all sorts of really magical writing about just connecting us back to each other and to love and to connection and to grace and to all of these and leading from that space is truly, I believe, that's truly how we disrupt this power structure of
Yes.
patriarchy and white supremacy and colonization. I truly it's not about it. This is not an academic exercise. And also I want to say recognizing it when it appears in front of us. So
Mhm.
so like like people being cruel to each other at work,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
someone is grieving, someone is hurting, someone is aching, and we have to start asking different questions.
Yes. Yeah.
We have to start asking different questions. Why are you okay? Like, why are you treating me like this right now?
Yes.
Anything wrong? What do you need? My favorite question when I was teaching my students social justice, advocacy, and policy to my social work students, I always said to them, the question is, what do you need?
Mm.
Because what you need
Yeah.
is something that I need, and what our clients need, and what the people in our communities need. And that can feel sort of daunting and overwhelming, but it actually gives us a lot more clarity so we stop going down the rabbit hole and we can actually get clear
Yes.
on how to help our communities.
I've written about that with the media, where our media gives people what they think they want, and I try to give people what I think they need, which is access to these good candidates and a different viewpoint. And it's
We
like,
have to
but
ask
it's,
that question.
well, yeah,
Walter,
but
you ask that question so well.
thank you.
You do it all the time, dude.
Ah, and it's just another thing I wanna add to people is we have to avoid the intoxication moments, like the low-hanging fruit, like gossip. You have to recognize it's like there's a compulsion to follow gossip, and you have to set that aside and recognize what the good thing is. And I think this is a real difficulty of the moment. You mentioned our cell phones before, because they are designed to put us in that moment, like, to get to a real experience, like you were saying, touching grass, that's not enough. You have to get in sync. You have to have that in sync, and it takes a moment to link up. Right? Like when I go out to paddle on the lake, I'm still agitated for the first 10 minutes, and then it's like, then it slowly goes away. Or when you're watching a movie and you're like, I'm still in a theater, and then all of a sudden you're linked up with the movie and you have like a real, but our cell phones deprive us of that. They keep us in that perpetual moment before we've linked up. Make link up impossible. And that's why we're just getting, because we need those moments. We need those moments of connection to stuff beyond ourselves, nature and our community. And I keep telling people, look, shut off your phones, find a progressive candidate. It doesn't matter if that progressive candidate is going to win or not. It's the community that's important. And this is a lesson I learned from poker, right? From playing poker. It's like you don't be results oriented. You make the right choice. Like don't bet on an inside straight because that's going to lose the majority of the time. And if you do the right thing, it doesn't matter what happens in that hand, but over the longer course, you're going to emerge victorious. So those are the things we can't be discouraged by the momentary loss as long as we maintain our commitment to our integrity.
And for all of us, the way you connect to the planet and to each other is through breath.
Mm.
So if we just take a moment, we're all going to do this together. Are you ready? All 93 of us, 96 of us, including us. We're just going to take a nice big deep breath into your nose and out through your mouth. Ready? Now you can feel your skin and your bones and your muscles and your hair and your feet and your hands. It's just that breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, one time. It changes everything.
You have a right to that breath, right? That's the thing. They try to make us think we don't, and that's another thing we have to overcome because you are absolutely do. Absolutely do. Gosh, people are so conditioned to think that they can't participate and they can't speak their truth, and that's so much even now. But I wore my Emily Berge shirt out the other day, then she's running for Congress in my district here. And even that, that's an act. It's like I have every right to wear the shirt of the person I
It's
support.
not even about the right, Walter. I think it's about taking the risk. Like some of us can't, right? Some of us were too afraid of being physically assaulted,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
of being harmed in some way. And I have been through that. When you live the life that I have lived, being physically assaulted on the street is a reality that I have experienced. I have experienced those things. And I don't know if it's being 51, almost 52, but I'm like, fuck it. I mean, if
Yeah.
they're gonna do something to me, they're going to do something to me no matter what.
Yep.
So I can't keep up, but I have that as a core thing for me, right? But not all of us can do that. And
Mm.
it's not about the right to breath. It's about being willing to take the risk to breathe.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Margaret?
Wow, this is a powerful conversation. I don't even know what to say to top that off. I'm
I love you, Margaret.
speechless.
I just fucking love you.
She is good. I find it so the community validating each other, empowering each other, finding new ways to examine the ways we didn't even know we hold ourselves back, giving ourselves permission to embrace that other sense. We've been sharing a lot of artwork I do with Nick. We share artwork, and people are afraid to do that. People are afraid to show a poem that they wrote or whatever, or read it, and for fear of the ridicule. And it's just be you.
I
Yeah.
just finished reading this really beautiful book written by multiple Native authors. I'm going to break all the rules and go off the screen for a minute.
That's fine.
Beyond the Glittering World.
Those we don't abide by those. We abide by our rules. Yeah, beautiful book. Beautiful book.
Um, but what I realized as I was reading some of the poetry in it is there's no punctuation, there's no
Yes.
capitals, there's
Yes.
like this poetry breaks all the rules, which I love. And I think that's what my book does. When I first wrote my book, it was supposed to be in an anthology, like a chapter in an anthology, and nobody else wrote their chapters. And so I said to the publisher, I was like, look, it's been 2 years. This is bullshit. I would like to publish this as a book. And so they were like, hell yeah, let's publish it as a book. And of course, in my head, I did all those things when your ego brain kicks in, where I was like, is it going to be long enough? Are people going to like it? Is it going to be okay? Is everything okay? And then finally I think I read, something by Ann Patchett or something like that. Or Anne Lamott. It was Anne Lamott. And I was like, and it was like this short little book that just totally made my heart sing. Like,
Yeah.
like I finished it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it was like 120 pages. And I was like, what is happening? Phil, it was, I can't see it. It's too far away. It was one of Anne Lamott's little books. I know it was orange.
We'll find it for the replay.
Orange.
Well, you just have to come back for the replay and we'll get and share the replay.
My bookshelf and anyway, I love you, Walter. I love
you
Mark.
too.
Thank you for
Love
everything.
you too.
Yeah.
I love all
Love
of
you
you
too.
listening to this. Thank you all
Love
so much.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank
Any
you
last?
all.
Okay. Let's go around. Margaret,
you.
any final thoughts where people can find you?
Margaret Williams, the Empowered Leader publication. Everybody stay encouraged. Okay.
Perfect. And Melissa, your final thoughts and your
I just
link to
said go buy my heart because I was reading the word heart on my book. Go buy Leading from the Heart. Subscribe to my Substack. Go tell somebody how cute they are today. Like, compliment somebody's earrings.
Oh.
Be kind, be loving, be graceful, and most of all, be kind and loving and graceful to yourself.
Yeah, and make a deliberate choice and do something. And like you said, it doesn't have to be out in the public. You don't need public approval. Just do something that you want to do. Yeah. And that thing that you think that you should never have done or whatever, for whatever reason, all these things we can re-examine. But yeah, for me, it's also 51 years peeling back these layers of all these things and all the gunk that's in there. And you just start pushing it out, clear out that headspace, reclaim your headspace and spend time with people and put those darn phones down, because the most awful people in the world determine what you see on those phones, and it's all to hurt you. It's deliberately designed. I've been making a fire and listening to the Beatles lately just because it's like, that puts me at ease. So that's what I do. I don't question
it. Good for you. Good for you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. We have to do this again. I just really love you too. And everybody in the chat. It's been wonderful. So make sure you restack this. We can have a new kind of world, a world of compassion. We can do it. All right. We're not going to stop. All right. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I got to find my thing.
Good night.